All right, we're joined now by Saints legend Jimmy Graham. Jimmy, we were just talking to you, and you were telling us that you got this Arctic thing going on, which is one of the wildest lines I've ever heard. But yeah, just tell us about your process and where you're at with that.
Yeah, so myself and my three teammates, Andrew, Hannah, and John, we're all going to row across the Arctic Ocean. It's called the Arctic Challenge 2025. The website is the Arctic Challenge 2025.org, and we are chasing 5 world records, and we are raising money for various charities here in New Orleans. One being Laureus, which introduces kids into sports, underprivileged kids, and 2 being the Covenant House, which is a children's homeless shelter, ages 22 and lower. So great cause, obviously, for 5 world records, but will be the hardest and one of the most brutal things I've ever done.
Are you someone that, like, I'm kind of like this myself. Like, I like a miserable process because I know I can go through it, and then at the end of it, like, I know I went through something that other people just aren't willing to do. Is that part of you? Is that part of your personality? Like, do you embrace things like that?
Yeah, I definitely embrace a challenge. I mean, I think that, to progress as a human being and to better yourself, it's going through hard things and hard challenges. You learn a lot about yourself in the middle of misery. When things are all fine and dandy and life is easy for you, it's hard to really work on the things that maybe you're not good at, or maybe some things you need to work on. So for me, definitely, a lot of things I've done in my life have always taken either a ton of time in studying, or it's been physically pretty challenging.
First of all, we're rude. Did you want to stand up? We're not making you sit down if you've been sitting in that boat too long.
Oh my God. I mean, last week was absolutely crazy. I mean, just sitting in that seat for 2 hours at a time with that repetitive motion, looking at a door, because you're backwards because the boat's going the other way, is absolutely brutal. I'm going to have to learn how to meditate and just sit in that for, I guess, 2 weeks, so.
Well, I was joking with you earlier, and not even joking. I mean, it is your personality. You finish playing college basketball. You're like, now I'm going to try football. The very first offseason, we're covering Jimmy Graham with the Saints, is I decided to learn how to fly this offseason. You get 1 year out of the league, and not only do you start bicycling around the world. So when you took on this Arctic Challenge, I kind of was like, yeah, that's Jimmy Graham. But talking to you about it today, this one feels like a step up even from all those things. Like, is it even more than you knew what you were signing up for in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be a lot. I would say, during before with the other things I would dive into, I was very limited for time because I also had a day job, so I had to be very focused on my day job. So my time was very important, so I only did things when I could. This one, obviously, is much more challenging, much more dangerous, but really the logistics of this is pretty brutal. I would say it's way less about rowing and it's more about survival. And understanding the boat, understanding weather, understanding currents, understanding storm fronts, and then the various tasks on the boat, deploying the pair anchor, deploying a drogue chute, deploying all these things. You have to really understand that and be very competent and do it very quickly, because if you have to do one of these things, it's because there's a massive issue.
You're clearly like a little bit insane, so I'm afraid to make this joke. But like, what's the deal with like wanting to be a 6'7" man and like stuffing yourself in a plane and stuffing yourself in a canoe? What's going on here?
Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. So I didn't know I was going to be 6'7". And then I got to high school, got big, and was like, well, let me just start dunking on people.
Sure.
So that kind of transitioned that. So I've always wanted to be a pilot. And all my planes, variously, I've been retrofitted. Really, I only fly what I can fit in.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Huey's humongous, so it's not a big deal. I definitely, if I was a little shorter, this would help. Sleeping. I can barely lay fully in that cabin. It's very, very small. And then really, like, trying to stretch. There's really nowhere to stretch. Also, this boat is not very stable for the most part. It's built for speed, so if one person walks down one side of it, the whole boat's tilted over. We're constantly trying to trim the boat. So if I'm rowing and I feel like the boat's untrimmed because we're sideways, then I'll just say, hey, trim port, trim starboard. And trimming is literally whoever's in the cabin, they just have to either put their leg out or just move over 1 inch. And now that's how, because the boat's fully carbon fiber. So this venture will be the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was going to sail around the world first, but this kind of came about. So this is in line first. And, you know, always love a good challenge, but this one will be the hardest for sure.
You said you're the navigator too. What made you the right person for that?
Yeah. Lead nav, lead comms, lead weather. And that's all aviation. So, you know, I've got 10 licenses. I'm instrument rated in multi-engine, single engine, and helicopters. I'm a bush pilot. I'm a seaplane pilot, helicopter pilot. So because of that, I know a lot about weather, because your biggest limiter with aviation, besides fuel and making sure that you have enough fuel to get somewhere, is usually weather, right? Fog, low, high-pressure systems. You have to really have a brain for that, so, which I do, and navigation. And I also, in Miami, I live on a sailboat. So
yeah,
that's all of that in one, as you know, has me at that position.
Antonio Gates got in the Hall of Fame last night. Is that a victory for the club?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's the ultimate victory. And when it comes, I mean, it's a personal one for me too. You know, because I spent the first 4 years of my career watching every route he had ever run. And also because he was with Drew Brees. You know, Drew was there his first start. You know, Drew talked about him a lot as I was first getting to the Saints and trying to understand the game. And we were both in a very similar situation where we both came into the NFL not knowing anything, you know, not knowing the rules, not knowing the game, not knowing defenses. And it's well-deserved, obviously. And what's special for him, too, was, you know, he was able to stay in one place. You know, it's cool to be able to, you know, play for one team like that for so long. And it's a testament, one, to his durability, his talent, and you know, we're all excited for him and his family. Man, he's earned it, and you know, I'm sure the celebration is going to be big.
Was 11? Was that the best team you were ever on? What was the best Saints team or best team period?
Yeah, I mean, the 11 team was insane. I mean, you look at everything we did on offense. You know, defensively, we're very balanced, and it's a heartbreaker anytime we all hear about that year. And for me too, it's, you know, I always wanted my moment, you know, and usually a moment leads into a Super Bowl if you have your career moment, and I never really had that opportunity. And it's, you know, to end that game, I think it was a minute 24 to go. I scored that 60-yard touchdown, and you know, that should be your moment. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, it was taken away from me, and people don't remember that play anymore. So that's how it is.
People still remember it. It was sad. People watching this show remember. I get it.
You think you guys would have beat the Patriots?
I mean,
That was the AFC team, right?
Well, we would have first played the Giants at home, which we smacked them. And then, the Patriots, I would have been all in for that. You know, me.
That would have been the end of the tight end showdown.
New Year's is Gronk.
Yeah.
I would have died on that field for that game. I would have died. Yeah.
I'm going to make you tell a story you told before. It's one of my favorite stories that ever told me. It was when I did an interview with you back in the time when you weren't doing a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
But you told me that story about Gronk in your apartment, the Gronk jersey.
Oh, the jersey. Yeah, you know, we all need a little bit of external motivation. And my apartment in New Orleans that year, I had no windows anywhere in the apartment. It was just, especially in the bedrooms, are all dark. The only thing I had hanging on any of my walls was Gronk's jersey, and it was on the wall every morning I woke up and went to work. You know, and because, you know, back then we were battling for a lot of things, you know, catches, yards, all pros and whatnot, and Super Bowls. And so, you know, for me, I was highly motivated to never rest on my laurels, and, you know, to always stay grinding, because, you know, I mean, I knew I had to, you know, match or better the things he was doing.
Hold on, paint the picture here. Like, are we talking like the True Detective apartment, like just completely blank, steel chair in the middle, or like do you have furniture? It's just furniture.
Not a weirdo.
What are we talking about here?
It's a normal apartment. I just had nothing on the wall except Gronk's jersey. Yeah, which is always like a constant reminder. And you know, one of the ex-girlfriends at the time was like, you know, why do you know, look at me like, why do you have this guy's jersey on your wall? And I was like, don't worry about it. You know, it's just making me mad every time I saw it.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, look, any thoughts on the current state of the Saints? I mean, you've been a little busy, but, I mean, do you feel like this team, about to have a new head coach. Maybe a lot of drastic changes, but maybe tweaks. How
Yeah.
far away is this team from getting back to your days?
Yeah, obviously the cap situation, has to be dealt with and handled, and then it's important that they bring in, right. It's all about the culture, right. It's all about holding people accountable. It's even about the things we were doing 15 years ago, where if you draft a third round pick and you got Pierre Thomas, well, you cut the third round pick and you keep Pierre Thomas. And that's how it is. And that's how this program was built. I remember we used to talk about the amount of free agents that we had on our team starting, right? That was to start every season. How many in you here are free agents, right? So really it's like the culture of understanding, this place, this is a place where we're going to play the best. And that's all based on your work ethic and who you are as a person. And I think that it's very important on who we bring in for culture, because it doesn't take a lot to fill that stadium and to get wins, and I think that this is one of the best cities to play football. Obviously, I had a very unique experience here with Drew and all the guys, but this city's hungry for winners, and this team wants to be back playing on a Sunday like this, and they truly deserve it.
What's next for you after this challenge?
Yeah, well, so survive the challenge. Do what we can for the charities, and then for me, my company, we're doing some things there with the Deaf Fund, but really, I'll probably get into air shows. So I'll look to get into air shows. There's this thing that's being donated to me called the Combat Learjet. And I talked to Clay Lacey and Joe Clark, who passed away in 2020. They used to do air shows in this. So I'm going to try. We're going to get it back working. I'm going to work on some stuff with the FAA. And then the idea is to hit the NFL up. And I'd like to do stadium flybys for national anthems. Especially salute to service. This plane basically belongs in a museum. And so we'll do that. I can fill the plane with veterans and then have like F-16 Makos as my wingmen. And then I'll be able to take everybody to halftime and give them the full Sunday tour and honor them at halftime, especially the veterans. So, I think for me, that'll be pretty cool. And then, getting into the air show game and learning and having fun, entertaining crowds, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Never boring. Always fascinating, and always fascinating to talk to you about all of it, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me, and have a great week. And go Eagles.